and today we're talking on the importance of stabilizing yourself. Something that seems so incredibly obvious, but actually, if you're not stable, you will never be able to make dynamic moves in your life. And so for me, obviously, there's been a whole whirlwind of activities that have, taken place over the past probably 10 years since I was phasing out nursing. I never knew what it was that I wanted to do after nursing. I always said that nursing was never meant to be a long-term strategy. And trust me, it was I was 20 years of invested time, money, effort, resources into that industry, into that profession. And I did not leave just with fanfare and a graceful exit. It wasn't like that at all. I thought long and hard before I made any transitions, because I know what it's like and how much work and effort it takes to rebuild from ground zero back up again. And it just seemed like no matter where I went, I was always reaching a lid or some sort of I just felt like I was boxed in and I couldn't do it anymore. Now, the funny thing is that you probably remember is I was building a gluten-free, and it turned into actually an allergen-free baking line. And when I was doing that, I was looking at, economic trends and cultural trends in terms of employees and how long they stay or how long they don't stay these days within an organization. And the company that I wanted to build with my baking company is one with heart, where when you're dealing, especially in the allergy space, there's no room for exception. I mean, it can't be your people were eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on wheat bread for lunch, and then they come into the baking area and they're handling your food because this product is going to individuals who can actually potentially die from that contamination of them having touched other food, and now they're handling our product. So there was going to be a lot of education that was going to have to go into the staff development on all fronts, a lot of education to empower the sales force and the people who are going to be going out to have discussions in the schools, in different allergies spaces. And there's a lot of hostility in those places, and teaching them and coaching them on leadership concepts such as how to command your emotionality. And so I was putting all this stuff together, and the personal development aspect of it on how to remain teachable and coachable, how to maintain command over your emotionality, how to always aim high, because that's at the heart of the company. That's what we stand for. And what happened was, when I was building that, you can't help but talk about Nick, what's going on? Well, I'm doing this and this and this, and it started really to become a part of who I was. And what happened was, different decision makers or industry leaders, entrepreneurs, just that I was talking to at random places, listened with pretty keen ears as to what I was doing, and they wanted my stuff. And they didn't want to steal it. They actually paid for my time for me to come in and sit down with them and open up my portfolio and share with them, some of the sessions. It was my thought process behind how short people stay at a particular job nowadays, especially if it's non-union, and the fact that I wanted to, while the people were there, improve them so that if and when they left, we'd at least be pumping better people out into the world. And if they chose to stay, which would be the goal after that much both financial and time investment, that we were going to have awesome people in the organization, and we weren't going to have the cancers that affect so many other places. So they wanted to hear that mindset. And they wanted to hear about, what sort of things, how do you do leadership training? And, we wanted to do this, but we weren't sure, how do you connect the dots? And, how do you change culture? And holy shit, you made your places gossip free, and that's grounds for termination. Oh my God, and it really added it was a really fun time. But what happened was it changed a lot of things. That not only were they paying for my sit down time, they actually were paying me more or less in the form of a coach or a consultant in order to come in and assist them in their organizations, whatever that was, to change culture or implement new initiatives, just open, to different content that I had. They liked the material that I had written. And so, the whole business model thing has really changed over time. And I shut down food service operations. I made that executive decision because there was so much more want and need for the personal and professional development as a standalone product or service. And so that's what I'm doing full time. And so I actually work mostly with entrepreneurs, in the fitness industry, but out of the fitness industry, different industry leaders, C-level executives, even people who are like heads of household that are looking on how to become better leaders of their household. That's actually what has happened here. And it's been such an interesting ride that sometimes you just never even know, what's next for yourself. You have to be decisive. And when you see, different opportunities, especially as an entrepreneur, you have to, there's an idea, and it's whether or not you're going to take action on it. I think the biggest thing is that, like everybody else, is that when you see something that's fun and it's very large amount of opportunity behind it, sometimes it's really easy to get over diversified, and then you're not able to make any progress just because you're more busy just trying to do this and do a little bit of this and do a little bit of this. You have to develop a system, and you have to actually then develop like the infrastructure to support it. So more times than not, what you actually have to do is you have to shave off a lot of either unnecessary or unproductive activities or things that consume your energy. And so if I can give you a word, of wisdom, it's you have to become comfortable with the word no. And that can be hard for a lot of people to hold that much force and strength behind that decision, but it's very much like a laser, that in order to have pinpoint precision and be able to cut through rock or whatever it is, the laser, all the energy gets focused on one point. It's not scattered out just like a general beam of light. And that has to be, your mindset on where you're going with your energy and your actions. So it always begins with you making a decision on, what it is that you want, what is the end product, and making sure that whatever that end goal, the end destination is for you, like it's high level. Because when you start to put it down low, just through time, it tends to lose its brilliance. You have to put it up there, you've got to keep it up there super high, and then it's your job as the leader of your enterprise, your household, or your own personal self to hold yourself to that bar and to the level, to show up every single day, even when you don't feel like it. But it's going to be a lot easier when you either have a group of people who are around you who are very like-minded, that's nothing that you don't already know, but also if you have somebody there who can fill in the voids where perhaps you have a weakness. So the entrepreneurs that I'm working with now, this is so fun, I love this, it's so cool, is they're very much like the attack and conquer type, as a lot of entrepreneurs are. Most of them started their businesses during the recession, so during like the worst economic times is when they began their businesses. And it cracks me up because, shit, if they can survive that, they can survive anything. Well, now that the economy is better, people's overall mood is better, things are working a lot better, they've got a lot more experience underneath them, they're ready to go next level. And this happens all the time, that when you have something that you've built and you want to go to the next level, and you either want to build it out and consume more horizontal space, or grow vertically, you have got to have that infrastructure to support it. So what I'm doing now is actually working with what has become both personal and professional development for these entrepreneurs to challenge themselves and become the person who is able and can be trusted with that level of an organization that has, different tiers or departments, like policy procedures, the attention to detail, the things that, a lot of entrepreneurs, we just don't really like too much. We like to go out there and we like to seize the day and, where it's like conquest, and make money and, solve problems and all these things. But that whole we got to pay attention to detail, we flip and hate it. And that's where personal development comes in, because in order to have something that you've never had before, you actually have to become that person who can do the things so that you can have it. And what you'll find is that a champion is aware of their weaknesses, as all of these individuals are. I mean, one thing about entrepreneurs is that in order to stay in business, you can't just kind of sort of hope I'm gonna ride on my strengths and it's gonna be happy skippy la la. You have to know where your weak points are, because you either have to hire somebody to buffer them up and make them strong, or you're gonna have to get strong in that area. But it's part of your personal growth. That maybe bookkeeping is not your thing, you still have to know how to do it so that you can hire the appropriate person to come in. So you're going to have to be able to sit your ass in a chair and crunch some numbers. Detail. Weekly, quarterly, yearly. You're going to have to figure out what are the quality characteristics and the values of your organization, the culture that you're setting, and what you expect from the people that you're hiring. Because it's your job. Once you establish culture, you have to fight tooth and nail to maintain it, because once you have other people infiltrating your organization, just by human nature, they're going to start chit-chatting at the water cooler and doing a whole bunch of different things, which is going to freaking corrupt the culture that you have put your blood, sweat, and tears into developing. And the same goes into your household. So it's grooming different leadership qualities on how to be the person whose walk matches their talk, which is huge, right? And that you become very much that same person, personal and professional, so that when you're off screen or off, work, you still are holding that line, because your people are always watching you. So this has turned into such a fun adventure. Everything that we do, we do remotely, either via FaceTime, Skype, or telephone. We've got entrepreneurial hours. We begin all coaching sessions at 5 a.m. Central Time. They last about an hour. And, people are just making leaps and strides. And I have to tell you, I loved working as a nurse. And I always felt that it was such a big honor to be in people's lives at the worst time of their life. But I have to tell you that it's so much more freaking positive when you can be in people's lives when they're making transitions to become better, and you're seeing the fact that they don't just take that information and hoard it, they actually then invest in their people. And so this so far has been, honest to God, you know what, no wonder why I didn't know what I wanted to do, because I had to invent it. So thank you for everybody who, we're working with here. And we've got some podcasts which are up on Anchor and Google and did I say Apple already? Spotify, and then it's Google Podcasts is a separate one. So if you see those on Facebook, go ahead, click. It's gonna allow you to hear some of those coaching concepts that we talk about and get you rocking, so that by the time you have idea, you're gonna have a really, really short window between idea inception and execution. And that's what it's all about. Make it a great day.